In the early 1930s, American film company RKO Pictures, hit hard by the Great Depression, was struggling financially. At the same time, filmmaker and adventurer Merian Cooper, inspired by his fascination with gorillas, was shopping around his idea for a film featuring a massive ape fighting a Komodo dragon. Eventually, he, along with friend and collaborator Ernest Schoedsack, found themselves employed at RKO, and while working on an adaptation of The Most Dangerous Game, came across test footage of a film about dinosaurs called Creation, a passion project headed by stop-motion animator Willis O'Brien. Recognizing the technique as the best possible means to bring his gorilla epic to life, Cooper convinced the studio to greenlight his film. During production, it would be known by many names: The Beast, The Eighth Wonder, but eventually it would simply be known as King Kong, a film that changed the art of cinema forever.
Kong, the eighth wonder of the world.
It is 1932, and filmmaker Carl Denham has yet to find his leading lady for a mysterious new film he intends to make halfway across the world. The night before they depart, he comes across Ann Darrow, a down-on-her-luck New Yorker who jumps at the opportunity for adventure. Just before they arrive, Denham reveals they are heading to Skull Island, an uncharted island purported to be the home of a legendary beast named Kong. There they witness the natives preparing a mysterious ritual sacrifice, who, upon seeing Ann, kidnap her and offer her to their god, Kong, a gigantic ape who immediately becomes infatuated with her. It's now up to Carl Denham, first mate Jack Driscoll, and the rest of the crew to venture into the heart of the island and face off against an amalgam of prehistoric monstrosities to save Anne from the clutches of the beast. It cannot be overstated how much the art of cinema owes to the original King Kong. It was the first of its kind, the first full-blown blockbuster that showed audiences at the time things they've never seen before. In doing so, it captured the imagination of the world for the decades that followed, inspiring countless filmmakers and influencing popular culture in incredibly profound ways. It has been remade, reimagined, and parodied numerous times, to the point where even those who haven't seen the film are aware of its iconography. Perhaps most importantly, it was the progenitor of the giant monster genre, and therefore a treasure of utmost value. Simply put, had there been no Kong, the world of cinema would be a very different place. You'd think after all this time that King Kong would have lost its bite, but that is not the case. It is a quintessential adventure film, briskly timed and structured in such a way so as to maximize the impact of every moment. The film takes its time, holding off on revealing Kong just long enough, and once it does, and the characters cross the literal wall that divides reality from fantasy, the film transforms into a non-stop prehistoric fever dream that races from one nightmare sequence to the next. The centerpiece is the now iconic fight between Kong and the T-Rex, which, while obviously crude by modern standards, is still impressive and remains one of the finest examples of the art of stop-motion animation. King Kong has a rather large cast of supporting characters, but the narrative is divided amongst its trio of leading players, at the forefront of which is Carl Denham, played by Robert Armstrong. A not-so-subtle stand-in for director Merian Cooper himself, Denham is a cocky, tenacious thrill-seeker, and Armstrong manages to make him likable even as his stubborn showmanship causes nothing but pain and suffering. Bruce Cabot plays the gruff and tough sailor Jack Driscoll, and while his initial temperament, particularly towards Anne, is immediately off-putting, he becomes a more likable leading man as the film goes along. The real star, though, is Fay Wray, who radiates in every scene she's in, and while her role is almost insultingly simple, especially by today's standards, she fits into the damsel in distress role so organically that it's no wonder she became an icon of cinema.
Scream for your life!
Being one of the first special effects-driven films, what everyone remembers most about King Kong, though, are the special effects, which were revolutionary at the time. Many new technologies and techniques were invented to bring Skull Island and its creatures to life, and the results are stunning, with some sequences incorporating multiple techniques all working separately at the same time. The score by Max Steiner is also a first of its kind, and is thus a revelation, darkly atmospheric as it is explosively frantic. The major showstopper, however, is, of course, stars Kong himself, and Willis O'Brien's animation does a great job making him feel like a real living creature with personality. Despite being the film's antagonistic force, he is clearly portrayed as a tragic figure, and this mixture, along with so many other elements, is what has made him such an endurable monster and beloved character. If there are any faults to be had with King Kong, it is the dated racial and sexist stereotypes that permeate throughout the film. It's impossible to watch this movie in modern times and not be jarred by certain elements that will be deemed deeply problematic by today's standards. With that being said, however, you can't necessarily hold that against a movie made almost a century ago. Like any movie, King Kong is a product of its time, as much a historical artifact as it is a work of art. Thus, keeping this in mind is integral to maximizing one's enjoyment of the film. What shouldn't be controversial, though, is how important the original King Kong is, not just within the film industry, but within the broader culture of modern Western society. The movie was a game changer in every way. It helped establish the language of cinema and push the craft of filmmaking to a new level. So much of what we take for granted about movies and how they are made and presented, we owe to King Kong. It is the prototypical monster movie that inspired multiple generations of storytellers and countless imitators, and in the process spawned an entire genre. As both a cultural relic and a piece of art, it is a must-see for cinephiles and kaiju fans alike. For more reviews and opinions on all things King Kong, subscribe and stay tuned to Up From the Depths.